Shaitanir Rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inshallah, today we shall be proceeding to the combination of constants and variables in the basis of Islamic thought and civilization. So, when we talk about combining constants and variables, this is one of the biggest proof that Islam is both divine and practical at all times. One might ask, what is the wisdom behind Islam combining constant and variables? And what do Islam and Muslims gain from this balance? The answer is not far-fetched. Islam is the final religion. Therefore, it is a universal religion, which is meant for all people in all times and places, and encompassing all aspects of life, because it is for all humanity across the space and time. It possesses strengths that ensures continuity. That is, Islam possesses strength. And the strength there is a constant, which ensures continuity and permanence. Without stagnation or rigidity. So Islam remains dynamic and flexible in every age. Therefore, the wisdom behind the balance between constant and variable is equal to the balance that benefits Islam, Muslim, and the Muslim personality and the Islamic world. Here, we can derive four major benefits from the combination of constants and variables. The first benefit is combining perfection and renewal in Islam. The second benefit is combining shared human traits and individual characteristics in personality formation. The third benefit is combining unity and freedom in building the Ummah, and the fourth one is combining independence and openness in the Ummah. So we shall take each of these benefits one after the other. When we talk about combining perfection and renewal in Islam, the word perfection is from the constant. That is the usul, the aqidah, the akhlaq. So they are perfect because they came from Allah. Because they come from Allah, they are from Almighty Allah. They don't need upgrading. We can't upgrade the usul. We can't upgrade our aqidah. We can't upgrade our akhlaq. So there is nothing like addition or subtraction in all this. Today, Allah says in the Quran, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. Today I have perfected your religion. So, the perfection came from what? Or comes from the constant. Now, if we mess the constant, that is, if we mess up with the constant, then we lose the deen. Then we become progressive with no foundation. That is the meaning of the word perfection. So when we now combine this perfection, that is the usul, the aqidah, the akhlaq, things that are rules from Almighty Allah, then we combine it with the renewal. Now what we mean by renewal here is from the variables. That is the application. That is the the application are renewed. That is the furor, which is the variables, they are renewed. So, because they come from human ijtihad. Ijtihad with reality. So, that is why the variables must change or the deen becomes frozen. If the variables doesn't change, we want everybody to do the same thing, everybody the same thing, the same time, everywhere, then the religion will become frozen and it will become irrelevant. That is why the Prophet ﷺ told us that Inna Allah la yab'atha li hadhihi al-umma ala ra'si kulli mi'ati sanatin man yujaddid laha dinaha. That is, Allah is going to raise, Allah will be raising for this ummah every 100 years someone who is going to renew his religion. So, when we talk about renewal, it does not mean changing the deen, but it means new application to the same deen. That is what we mean by renewal. So, the illustration of perfection and renewal in today's world is like a smartphone. So, Islam itself is like a smartphone, that is an OS smartphone. And the constant there is the core OS code in the smartphone, which is written by Allah. And if we try to change the code, then the phone will become useless. So that is why when you try to change the constant in Islam, when you try to upgrade the constants, then there will be a problem. So, however, the variables in Islam is like the apps that are in the phone. Every app in the phone needs upgrading. That is why some apps, when some apps become outdated, we upgrade them. So Islam is like the smartphone, the OS, the operating system in the smartphone, while the constant is like the OS, operating system of the smartphone, while the variables is like the app in the smartphone. So for the app to continue to become relevant, then we need to upgrade the app. So the constant in Islam is all those that we have mentioned, the ibadat, the aqidah, the akhlaq, that are constant. So we cannot change them. We don't update them. However, the variables, which is the furor, we have to update those ones. So that is why, let's say for example, let's give an example. One of the benefits of combining both the constant and the variables are many. So, which we said is one of it is combining perfection and renewal. Here, when we decide to stick to only perfection, that is only to the revelation, to the nusus alone, then Islam will look like a museum, whereby the youth, the young children, they will see Islam as a rigid religion, then they will start living. So they won't have interest in Islam because they will believe that Islam has restricted their freedom. So, however, if we also stick to the variables alone, then there will be tamyir. That is, Islam is going to melt into culture and we Muslims will lose our identity. So, however, when we combine both the perfection and the renewal, when we combine them together, then the result will be at-tajdid al-shari', that is legitimate renewal. So then Islam will now become authentic and it will also become alive. So people will see that the religion is progressing when we combine both the constant and variables together. So, and this is what Imam Shatibi called mura'atul maqasid ma'a mura'atul adillah. So, uh, therefore, combining constant and variables means that the root is in the sky. That is, the constants they are in the sky, while the branches and the leaves they grow in the soil. So let's take a classical example from Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, whereby he combined constant and variables. That is the perfection and renewal. The constant is perfection and the variable is now renewed. For example, the Quran says at-talaqu marratan on the issue of divorce. And many people are saying those words, but I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. They are misusing it just to divorce their woman. So because the Quran said at-talaqu marratan. So when you divorce a woman, the first time, the second time, and immediately you divorce her the third time, then there is no reconciliation. So people are now doing that to abuse that opportunity, whereby they turn women to what they use and dump and dispose and get another one. Then Ibn Taymiyyah combined that perfection, which is the verse of the Quran that said at-talaqu marratan. In his own opinion, he said that marratan, when you pronounce the divorce in a single sitting with a single intention, it still remain one. That is, he said, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. He still said it means that you've only pronounced the talaq once, and not that is the way he understands the verse of that Quran. So that to curb the abuse of people, to curb how people destroy families through anger. So that is, they said, when you say it that 3 times in one sitting, it counts as 1 and not 3. So, and when Allah said that use the ilah of 3, that is the 3 separate periods that Allah gave room for, is just for reconciliation. So that is, when you pronounce it once, she will observe her Ida, and before the end of Ida, you might reconcile, and you continue to live as husband and wife. But in the situation whereby you just pronounce the 3 once, then there will be no room for reconciliation. So Ibn Taymiyyah said that 3 times you mention it in one sitting with the same intention will be counted as 1 and not 3. So that is combining what? A perfection with what? Renewal. So he renewed the understanding of that verse. That is one of the benefits of combining constants and variables. So, and on that verse, one of the reasons why Allah did not give room for direct divorce once I divorce you, then they are separated, is because Allah himself prioritized the protection of family, that is hifzul usra. So that is why we have to avoid, then Ibn Taymiyyah tried to avoid rigid literal interpretation of that verse. So therefore, the constants which are preserved in the Quran gives Islam strength and stability. And at the same time, the vast domain of the variables, that is the way we understand the text, grant it flexibility, it grants it adaptability, and continuous renewal of our understanding. So the constant provide perfection, while the variables provide adaptability, diversity, and relevance. So this balance ensures that Islam does not become rigid and unable to meet new challenges. So the new challenges, and then does not become subject to human whims. So that is, Islam does not reject our own thinking, our own understanding. So that is why our own understanding is applicable in the variables. So when we look at the text, then we understand it, then we look at reality, then we'll be able to apply the text to the reality. So we are going to look at the second benefit, which is a shared humanity and individuality. That is, it leads to balancing shared humanity and individuality. Now, when we talk about balancing shared humanity and individuality, the word shared humanity means fitra, that is, things that are natural, needs for justice, the goal, that is, needs for family needs, that is, need for family, needs for worship, dignity, with the goal of being one human. That is shared humanity, things that we share in common as human. So we worship Allah the same way. We crave for having family, to get married, have children. That is shared humanity. We crave for justice, that I don't want to be cheated, I don't want to be deceived. So these are shared humanity. So, and however, the other one is the individuality, that is balancing shared humanity and individuality. So the second one is individuality. That is, here we are talking about what makes one person to be different from the other. That is, what differs from person to person, culture to culture, such as language, culture, food, dress style, business method, and others. So, showing that we are different people. Balancing between shared humanity and individuality means that we are all human and we are all unique. Shared humanity means we are all human, and individuality means that we are all unique. So, and both are contained in the revelation. So the constant in is the shared humanity, which is the constant, which is contained in the Quran, how we should relate with ourselves. That is shared humanity. Then the other one, which is individuality, is also contained in the Quran. So Allah gave us fixed law because we all share the same fitrah and the same problems, such as salat, such as zakat. All these, they are fixed. Such as we detest lying, we detest oppression, we hate smothering, we hate things that are forbidden. So irrespective of country, irrespective of tribe. So, and also the Makasi to Sharia, we all shared all this. So, and this shared humanity gives us unity. So we can pray together, we can do Hajj together, we can feel like one family through this shared humanity. That is why Almighty Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. That all humankind, verily we have created you in male and females, in male and female, and we have made you nations and tribes. So it means we are from different cultures, different people. However, we are sharing a common goal, a common trait as human. So, however, we said the constant, it protects the shared humanity. The constant protects what? The shared humanity. However, the variables, if you don't forget, what I mean by the constant is what? Is the revelation. It is the rule contained in the Quran and the Sunnah that guides women. However, the variables is our own understanding. That is the fiqh. So it protects what? Individuality. The variables protect individuality. So Allah left many areas open because we are not clones. We have different cultures. We have different talents. So and others, such as our dressing. The constant in dressing is that we should cover our body. However, the type of dress that we are going to wear that covers our body will be different. The way a Yoruba man will dress is different from the way a Hausa man will dress. And when you, even the dressing alone, we are going to identify the type of tribe the person is, the kind of country the person comes from. So through the dressing alone, it means we have individuality. And we have different foods. Food is eating food. The type of food that we eat is variable. But what the constant in eating is what? Halalan tayyiba. That we should eat something that is good, which is the rule from Almighty Allah. But the type of food that we are going to eat that is halal depends on the culture, depends on our place, that depends on the language that we speak. So even in Nigeria, we have some tribes that there are some vegetables that they eat, that some other tribes they don't eat it. We have some food that some people they eat in their own place, there are people they don't eat in their own place. So it means when you talk about individuality, it means it encompasses a lot of things. However, the individuality is regulated by the constants. So Allah gave us what is it? He said, cover your body. He didn't say wear ankara, wear jalabia, wear suit. No, that is variable. That is domain of variable. Allah said eat good food, which is constant. But he didn't say eat eba, eat rice, eat cake. That is individuality. That is variable. So, and we have different forms of variable. Even when it comes to buying and selling, the constant there is you don't cheat. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ. These are rules. But the type of trade that we are going to do, okay, we start buying rice and beans, doing what is it called, having filling station, having opened a business. So these are from in the domain of they are contained in the domain of the variables. So that is why we don't have to erase our culture just to become a Muslim. So balancing between the constant and variable, that is balancing between our shared humanity and our personal traits, will prevent people from feeling that from seeing Islam as a colonizing religion, as a colonizer. So we don't see Islam as a colonizer. We only follow the rule, then it is left for us to apply it the way our culture dictates. So, and it will also make Islam to be both global and local. So, because Almighty Allah that gave us individuality, different traits, He knew He has a reason. Even He Himself says in the Quran that وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. We have honored human. What made us different from other creatures is our brain, our thinking, our rationality. So we are not robots, we are not cloned. Then if we have this, our mind, our thinking faculty, and we don't use it, then what is the essence of Allah giving us that reasoning faculty? So part of the karama that Allah has given us is our personality, is our culture, is our creativity. We as Muslims, let us be creative. So the Sharia protects human rights with constants, and also protects your personal rights with what? With variables. Let's say, for example, when we talk about shared humanity and individuality. Shared humanity, for example, the issue of adhan, making adhan. The constant there is you make adhan. But the variable, you may decide to use your mouth, Allah with your good voice. You may try to use microphone. You may use anything that you think that when you use it, it will benefit human. It will make it go far, that people will know that it's time for Salat. So that is the variable. So Islam is call to prayer, call adhan, but he said this is how you should do it. He gave us what we are going to do, but the method we are going to use to carry it out, he didn't tell us. So you use something that will be beneficial to human. So, and even when Islam encourages us to build our mosque, so it didn't say that this is the type of way, this is the way you should build it. Okay, 1-story building, 2-story building, build it as a duplex. No, he only gave us how we should do what we should do. But the method we are going to use to make it a reality is left to our environment, to us. So based on our environment. So now today people have tiles, have rug, and ceiling fan, AC in their mosque. So that is under the domain of variables. So nobody said that many mosques that has AC. Say, are you there to relax, or you are there to observe, to worship Allah? That is so. You have to. Anything can be in the mosque, so far it benefits human being. So nobody can come out, even those that criticize it, they are only criticized based on their own understanding. So we don't need to follow them, because it is under the domain of variables. So it's not under the domain of constant. So when there is what is it called? Let's give another example. Yes, let's give another example of shared humanities. The issue of family life is an example. So Allah sets a rule which is shared humanity, that is mawadda, love, rahmah, mercy, ma'ruf, doing good, nafaqah, spending, then tarbiyah, training the children, and ihtiramul walidain, and honoring the parents. These are rules in family life, and we must not leave one because of one. All we must abide by them. Now, these are shared humanity. However, we have individuality. That is how we achieve those things. And they can change based on our culture. They can change based on our personality. So, what you refer to as love, that you do in your own place, even from what some people they categorize as love in their own place. Some people, what they see as love is that you as the husband, you be the one sweeping the house, what is it called? Bathing the children. The wife is just to cook, wash your clothes. That is what they categorize as love. Based on their own culture, based on their own, it's under the variables. So when you see somebody that is in the kitchen cooking for the wife, then you don't say, in Islam it is not allowed. How is it not allowed? So it is under the domain of variables. It's not under the domain of constant. There is no verse of the Quran or the Sunnah that said that the husband should not cook, the husband should not sweep, the husband should not bathe the children. There is no verse on that. It's under the domain of, so your culture, your environment will determine how you will carry it out. So which is under the domain of variables. So in Islam, every marriage has the same pillar. However, but no culture is erased. Your culture is not erased. So we have another example. When somebody wants to marry, in some places, when you just go, you go with the mahar. That is all. But in some culture, like for example in Yoruba land, when you want to get married to a woman, they ask you to buy cow, to buy rice, to buy maggi, to buy everything you have to buy before you get married to their daughter. But in some places, you don't need to buy all those things. So even in Yoruba land, it is you are still going to contribute to what they are going to use to entertain your family. Why in some family, in some culture, the family of the bride, of the wife, that they want to do everything just for you to come with your people, do the necessary things, you pay the mahar and others. So that is why Islam did not erase our culture. So, but it modifies it. It modifies it. So it's being guided. That is why we have to balance between shared humanity and individuality. So finally, we have a lot of example on that, but let's stop here and finally, when we talk about shared humanity and individuality, it's like a single body, which is thawabit, a single body, and this body has different faces. That is al-jasadu al-wahid ma'a al-wujuh al-kathira. It has different faces. A single body with different faces. That is an illustration of shared humanity and individuality. We as human, as our body, as we are like this, we have different parts of the body. Our hand is different from our face. Our nose is different from our mouth. That is individuality. The nose is different, the mouth is different, and they are performing different functions. So that is why we have shared humanity is the body. We all share the same body. So, but they have different things there. So the talent of the mouth, different from the talent of the nose, different from the talent of the eyes, different from the talents of the hand, different from the talent of the head. They all have different talent. That is individuality. So for you to become a Muslim, you don't need to become an Arab. No, you don't need to become an Arab for you to become a Muslim. So that is why what Allah wants from us is that He wants us to be pious. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. So that is the most honored among you in the sight of Almighty Allah is those that are the most pious. Now let's move to the third benefit, that is the balancing of unity and freedom in building the Muslim community. So, how do we give unity? Constant in Islam, they are non-negotiable. That is, that unity itself is constant, and it is non-negotiable in Islam as Muslims. And they glue billions of Muslims together. That is the constant. Is what brings us together. It's the salat that brings us together as Muslims. It's zakat, we do it the same way, bring us together as Muslims. So, we have 5 unity anchors in Islam, which are constant. The first one is wahdatul aqidah. We have the same aqidah. One Allah, then the one prophet, which is Prophet Muhammad, that we believe as the last one. We have other prophets that we believe in. They are all prophets. So that is, we have the same aqidah. Then the second is wahdatul ibadah. That is our worship. Is unifying of the worship. We face same qibla, the same salat, the same Ramadan and others. Then wahdatul masdar. We have the same source. The source is what? The Quran and the Sunnah. That is what gives us. Now the fourth unity anchor is wahdatul akhlaq. That is truth, justice, honesty, trustworthiness, and others. So then the fifth one is wahdatul maqasid. So we have unity in the maqasid. That is the goal of the Sharia. So we all agreed on protecting our life. We agreed on protecting the deen. We agreed on protecting the akil, so the intellect. We agreed on protecting the nasil, the progeny. Then we agreed on protecting our wealth. So these are the 5 anchors of unity. So a Muslim from Niger or from Senegal can pray behind an imam from Nigeria and understanding everything. That is unity. And without constant, that is, without the constant, then there will be no unity. We would have like 500 or 10,000 versions of Islam. That is why Allah says, Inna hadihi ummatukum ummatan wahida. Verily, this your community is a single community. So we are Muslims, we must understand that we have to balance between unity and freedom in building the Ummah. So we have mentioned the 5 anchors of unity. So the next question we are going to ask ourselves is, how do variables give freedom? How do they give freedom? So what we know is that the variables, they are the space for ijtihad and creativity that Allah left open. There are 4 freedom fields in Islam. The first one is Majalatul Hurriya, that is 4 freedom field, that is Majalatul Hurriya. The first one is Hurriyatul Fikr wal Ijtihad. That is, we have the freedom to our intellect, to our thinking, to think, to look at a text and understand it and apply it to reality. So that is why the scholars, they differ on the furor of the religion, the branches of religion, they differ because it is under the domain of variables. Then the second one, the second domain of freedom, the second field of freedom is Hurriyatul what is it called? Hurriyatul Urf wa Thaqafa. That is, we have freedom to our culture and civilization. You can decide to adopt any culture. You can decide to adopt any civilization. You can learn another language. So Islam did not tell you to take away your language because you want to become a Muslim, and you stop speaking Yoruba because you want to become a Muslim. No, you can keep your language, you keep your food, you keep your dressing. Islam does not say that you should change your dressing forcefully. What Islam wants is that cover your body. Islam has a way that we should dress. Then how do we make it? It's left to our culture. It's not necessary you dress like the Arab, especially our women. Not necessarily you dress like them. So we have that freedom. So Hurriyatu al-Urf wa Thaqafa. Now the third one is Hurriyatul Wasa'il. That is, we have freedom to choose the method that we think is applicable to our own society. So the most important thing is that whatever method you want to use, it must be what? It must be halal. It must be something permissible. And your goal must be to achieve the goal that Allah wants us to achieve. So it's to achieve the Sharia goal. That will be the reason why you are using any method you decide to adopt. So Islam does not give us a rigid or a fixed method that we can use in this life. Then the fourth one, which is the last one, is Uriyatul Idara. So that is, every community has the right to choose who will lead them. As in the school, you have the right to choose who will be the proprietor, who will be the headmaster, who will be the principal. In the masjid, you have the right to choose who will be the imam, who will be the... But Islam has given us specification, the type of person we should choose. But Islam did not say the person you are going to choose must be Yoruba, must be Hausa, must be Igbo, must be tall, must be short. It's left to us to decide. So then that is why, with all this freedom that Islam has given us, the Muslims in Nigeria should be able to solve the problems in Nigeria with our own thinking. So the Muslims in Turkey should be able to solve Turkish problem. So without interference, because we have freedom. We have freedom. So no one is forced. So there is no force, no one forces, one system for all. No one forces all system, one system for all. There is no system that is forced upon everybody that this is the way you should do. So that is why Islam, we have to balance between unity and freedom. Allah says in the Quran لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا. So the minhaj, it means you have different ways, different methods. So we have your own rules, you have your own way of life. So that it is contained in the Quran. So unity alone cannot bring peace in this world, in Islam. Because when you decide to take unity alone, people will suffocate and they will start living Islam. When you want everybody to do the same way, everybody to dress the same way, everybody to look the same way, everybody should be black, everybody should be white, everybody should be tall, there will be problem. People will suffocate. And when you decide to choose freedom alone, then the Ummah will break. Me, I can decide that I cannot, this one, I want to be unique, do my own separate, I want to be a unique person. I don't want to relate with these people. No. So when you choose freedom alone, then the Ummah will break. It will break into sects, it will break into groups. That is why we need to balance between unity and freedom. But when we balance between the two, both unity and freedom, then Islam becomes strong. Islam becomes diverse. Then there will be creativity among the Muslims. Let's give an example. The Sahaba. If you look at the Sahaba, they have one leader, which is the Prophet, one Quran, one the same army, the Muslims army, they pay the same zakat. These are the Sahabit. There is unity. So, however, we have the Mutagayyirat. Some of the Sahaba, some of them, they were appointed as governors. Some of them, they were given different appointments. Like Mu'adh bin Jabal, he was sent to Yemen to be the governor there. And when he got there, he did not use only the Quran and the Sunnah. He also used his own understanding to judge. He used the reality in that place, he used it to judge. So it means that is freedom. You have the right to use your intellect. Umar created the one. He created government. He created salary system. He created many things which are not in the Quran. That is Huriyah. So that is we can consider that is Huriyah to Idara. So we have freedom to do that. So when we call Adhan, we call it the same Adhan, Allah, but the style that we use to call the Adhan is different. So that is the Huriyah. So we have Huriyah to our own voice. You know, sir, this is the only voice that we should be using. The only way that the way Allah, whenever another person want to pronounce it, Allah, with the same my own personal voice. So we have freedom. That is why we are unique as humans. Even the voice, they say the voice of Bilal, when he's calling the Adhan, is always different. That is the style he used in calling the Adhan. You know, from the style of Abul Ma'aduro. And both are approved by the Prophet. So it means we have freedom. So, but we must balance between unity and freedom. So that is why what is it called? نتعاون فيما اتفقنا عليه ويعذر بعضنا بعضا فيما اختلفنا فيه. So we do the same thing, the things that we agreed upon. We cooperate, we do it together. So we cooperate on what we agreed upon, and we excuse each other in what we differ on. We don't blame each other. We excuse each other. That is the way you understand it. That is his own way. That is his own understanding. We won't say, what he has done is wrong. It is bad. No. Because we have freedom in the domain of what? In the domain of the variables. It's only the domain of the constant that is what we agreed upon. We do it together. So we as Muslims, that is the way we should be doing. So the Ummah is like the skeleton, and the skeleton of the Ummah keeps up standing as one body. The muscle and the skin let us move adapt, and grow. However, when we take away the skeleton, then we collapse. And when we take away the muscle, we become a statue. We become just ordinary statue. So it means we have to balance between the unity and the freedom. Then we become a what? A living civilization. So many Muslim countries today, they broke the balance between unity, the balance of unity and freedom. The problem is usually too much of one and too little of the other. For example, forcing one madhab on people, that people should just follow only one madhab, is a problem. Forcing one opinion on people, forcing one culture on people, that everybody should follow this, so everybody should dress this way. This is one of the problems we are facing as Muslims in most Muslim culture, in most Muslim countries. So, and in fiqh, when you ban all madahib except one, and you start jailing them, you start jailing those people who did ijtihad, then there will be problem. When you want all Muslims to dress the same way, everybody must dress like us, everybody must be like us, everybody must wear cap like us, everybody must use turban like us, then there will be problem. Everybody that only state approved preachers, they are the ones that should preach, and new methods are not allowed, then there will be problem. Then there will be stagnation in Islam. And when our rulers, when their own is that asamu wa ta'a, they don't want people to tell them that is when you don't obey them, it becomes sin. Then there will be problem. Then it means nobody will be able to come out to tell them what is happening, to discuss with them. It means they kill discussion. So, however, we as Muslims, we have to balance between unity and freedom. Because when we don't balance it, the result will be rigidity and hypocrisy. Why our youth, our young children, they will be leaving Islam just because of the rigidity that they are facing in Islam. So, a child wants to dress in Kampala, and the parents say, no, you must always wear black, only black. Why only black? When there are a lot of colors. What is the essence of all the colors that we have? When all the dress must always be black, then there will be problem. So that is why we need to balance between between unity and freedom. Then when we don't balance it, then we see people, our Muslim brothers and sisters, our children, they will just be saying Shahada, they will say La ilaha illallah with their tongue, but in their heart, they will hate that religion. Then the Ummah will look like, will look united outside, but inside, it is another thing. It is dead inside. So that is why Islam wants us to balance between unity and freedom for us to build the Muslim community. So, however, when there is freedom without unity, there will be another problem. That is, everyone is free to believe or do whatever he wants. Then there will be problem in our Aqidah. Some people will tell us that Salat is optional, that you don't need to observe Salat. So people will tell you that everyone has his own sheikh. Everyone has his own right to reference to anything he likes. So there will be no reference to the Quran and the Sunnah again. People will be saying that our sheikh says, our sheikh says, our sheikh says. They will forget about the source, which is the Quran and the Sunnah. So, and there will be a lot of sects in Islam when we talk about the freedom alone without looking at the unity aspect. So, The Sunni will not be able to pray together with another person that is Sufi or another person that is Shia. We will be praying separately. When this one is Shia, I cannot pray beside him, I cannot pray behind him. There will be problem. A Sufi will say, this one is Sunni, I cannot pray behind him. There will be problem. So we don't have to take freedom alone and neglect unity. And immediately, even in our law, when we take freedom and neglect unity, we see most of the Muslims, they will say they will not follow Islamic law again. They will be copying Western law just because they said they were given freedom. So then, immediately we take freedom and we neglect unity, then there will be one problem. The problem is that there will be tamasuk and there will be zuban. That is, there will be division among the Muslims, and Islam will be merging into cultures. So that is why there will be problem. And immediately we take freedom and leave unity, then we have like 1 million Islam and we have no ummah again. There will be no ummah. And Allah says, our ummah is ummatan wahida. So the constants in Islam, we don't have to play with it. So no one is allowed to play with the constants. Those that we have mentioned before. The Aqidah, the Ibadat, the Akhlaq, the Maqasid. So we don't have to play with them. Those things that are forbidden, we should not go there. They are the constants. So because this is the skeleton. And we have to balance it with the variables. That is, we balance the variable, which is the freedom. We balance it with the skeleton. So then there will be al-wahdatu fil usul wal-hurriyatu fil furu' wat-ta'awunu fil jami'. So that is what will create unity. That is unity in the usul. That is the foundation of Islam, and which is the constant. Then freedom is the furu'. This is the variables. And we cooperate in everything. That is how we can build unity. We can use unity and freedom to build the Islamic Ummah. So we are going to move to the next one. Combining independence and openness, which is the last benefit of combining constant and variable. So we have to combine, we have to balance between independence and openness. So the independence there is the thawabit, while the openness is the mutagayyirat. When we talk about independence, without independence, a nation becomes either isolated and weak or open and colonized. Islam gives both independence, that is, it protects our identity, it protects our aqidah, while it also gives us openness. That is, it gave us room to learn. We have the opportunity to trade with people who are Muslims and non-Muslims. We have the opportunity to dialogue with both Muslims and non-Muslims. We have the opportunity to progress in our worldly affair. So Islam gave us both independence and openness. So the independence shows we have our own roots, while openness indicates we learn from others. If independence is alone, then it leads to isolation and backwardness. If openness is alone, it leads to melting and dependence. So that is why Islam encourages that we should be rooted in the constant. That is what Allah wants and what the Prophet has ordained. And we should not be buried, and we should be opened and not melted. So the question here is, how do constants give independence? Constants are our immune system, and they stop us from being swallowed by other civilizations. We have 4 independence anchors. The first one is al-istiqlal al-aqdi. That is, we have freedom, that is independence in our belief, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So that is the first independence that we have. We don't take the belief of others. We don't take it. We don't take the worldview of others. People, the worldview of the Christians, of the Jews, of some other beauties, others. No. Our own Aqidah, we have istiqlal in our Aqidah, independence in our Aqidah. The second one is istiqlalu tashri'. That is, we have independence in our law. That is, the source of our law is what? The Quran and the Sunnah. They are the source of law. We don't do copy and paste in Islam. We don't take the law of other religion. We don't take the law of other people. Our law is what? The Quran and Sunnah. So we have independence in that. And the third one, we have istiqlal al-hadari. We have independence in our society, civilization. That is, we have our own values as Muslims. So we have our own family system as Muslims. We have our own Eid as Muslims. That is istiqlal al-hadari. And the fourth one, which is the last one, is istiqlalu al-iqtisadi. That is, we have our own way of transaction of economic life. We have freedom in economic life. So our independence, yes, that is our zakat, our work, and we don't trade with riba, and we don't build our economy on haram. Which is, these are the independence that are rooted in the constant. That is, these are the 4 anchor of independence. So that is how the constant give us independence. Now this question, another question here is that how do the variables give openness? So we said the variables, they are like the windows. The variables, they are the windows. Now we said the constant, they are the immune system. And we have 4 immune systems, 4 things that make our immune system to be strong, which we have mentioned, which is the independence, all the 4 anchors of independence. Now, the variables, they are like the windows. So, they that let us to breathe. They give us the opportunity to learn. They give us the opportunity to benefit from others. Now, when you open your window, the window of your house, fresh air will enter, aroma will enter, you will see a lot of things through your window. So that is an illustration of the variable, which is openness. Now here, we have 4 fields of openness. One is infitahu ilmi. That is, we have openness to knowledge, to science, to medicine, to tech, to economics, to AI, to a lot of things. So, infitahu al-ilm is very important. That is why the Prophet encourages us when he said, "Utlubul ilma walau fi." That's find knowledge, even if it is for you to go to China. So it means we are not restricted to only learn Tawheed alone, to only learn how to recite the Quran alone. Learn how to recite the Quran and learn economics. Learn how to recite the Quran and learn medicine. Learn hadith and learn tech. So that is how Islam gave us. Oh, there is openness. Islam, anything that will benefit us as Muslims, Islam wants us to learn it. Then the second one on the field of openness is infitahul iqtisadi. That is, we are open to trade with all human. That is, we can trade with all nations as long as it is halal. So when the trade is halal, then we can trade with them. That is the second one. And the third one is infitahul hadari. That is, we can take other people's civilization. We can learn other people's language. We as Yoruba, we are Muslim, we learn Arabic, we learn English, we learn French. So that means that we are open to other civilizations. We can learn their language, we learn their art, we learn their architecture, we learn others from, we learn many things from them. Then we as Muslims, not only learning, then we have to build on what we have learned. We have to improve what we have learned. That is what happened during what's it called? During the period of Islam, the period that Islam, the civilization of Islam reached its peak. And the last one, which is the fourth one, is infita'u da'wah. That is, we have there is openness to dialogue. We are open to dialogue with others, So that is why we see Muslims, they translated Greek books, and when they translated it, they learned. That at the end of the day, the Muslims, they were able to invent what? They invented algebra. They built hospitals, and they traded from Spain to China. It means there is openness, but it is only the openness is what is controlled by what? By the constant. That is, there are rules on how we engage with the openness that we have. So when we combine independence and openness, and we balance between the two, then we take the best and we lead. Let's say, for example, the Baitul Hikmah in Baghdad. The independence there, which is the constant, is that the reason why they built it, why they did that, is that the goal was to serve Allah. However, the translators, they employ translators who have to check if the knowledge that they want to translate, if they contradict with the Quran. And they did that. And when they are that this one is not contradicted, they translated it to benefit the Muslims. And we have the openness. The openness that they translated Greek, Persian, in their books. They translate all their books. And they hired Christians, Jews, and Muslim scholars in doing those things. So that is openness. So when they did that, what happened? When they translated the Greek of the book, the Greek book, the India book, the Persian book, and others, the Muslims did not become Greek, they did not become Persian, but they took science from the Greek and they built algebra, they have medicine, they have astronomy. That is what they learned from all those civilizations, they built upon it. That is how we Muslims are supposed to be. But we Muslims of today, we are not like that. We have another example. Like in Andalus, during that period, we have independent whereby they operate Sharia courts, Islamic calendar. They speak Arabic language. There are mosques everywhere. That is independence. But in that place, those people, there are many people that work there. We have Jewish doctors that are there. We have Christian architects that were employed. We have Muslim scientists, and all of them, they work together. They trade together, and even they trade with Europe. At the end of the day, the Europeans, they came to learn in Cordoba, and Muslims did not become European. So that is why we Muslims, we have independence, which is the rule in the Quran, which is the constant. And also there is room for openness. So, and we have mentioned the field of openness. So even during the Ottoman Empire, for example, the constant is there. That is, they use caliphate, they use Sharia courts, they use the millet system and others. However, the openness is that They took gunpowder from China. They learned Navy tech from Europeans. They have diplomats from all nations. So that is why for around 600 years, the Ottoman Empire, they ruled the world. So, and for them to have been able to do that, they didn't do copy and paste. So, for we to apply independence and openness in today's world, we as Muslims, we can decide to produce our own films. We can decide to produce our own games, that is the independence. Produce our own films, our own games, have our own influencers with Islamic values. All those things they will have is that our films, they will portray Islamic values. Our games will portray Islamic values. That is the independence. However, the openness is that we are going to use the same platform that others are using. We use YouTube for our films. We use Netflix for our films. We use gaming for our games. So we don't abandon the two, because when we do, then there will be problem. So we don't ban the two. However, we fill the tools that others are using. We also fill it with our own content. So that is how we can apply it. We can apply openness and independence in today's world. So then the result will be good. So the rule here is that you take wisdom wherever you find it. However, you have to filter it through what? Through Islam. Also, independence is having strong roots so that the wind can't uproot you. While openness is having wide branches so the sun can reach you. So, a tree with no root will do what? Will fall. However, a tree with no branches will also what? Will also die. So, that is why we as Ummah, our juzur, our root should be in the sky. When our root is in the sky, then we will be leading. And when our variables, that is our branches, is growing on the soil, then that is the root in the sky and the branches on the soil, then we the Muslims will be leading around the world. So, however, before you adopt anything, we have to ask some questions. Which is, we have the independence filter and we have the openness filter. Now, when we ask that, if the answer, when we ask those questions, if the answer to those questions, they are no, or one of them is no, then we have to stop it. We should not do it because it will harm our identity as Muslims. Under the independence filter. So, the first question under the independence filter is that before you do anything, ask yourself, does this contradict the Tawheed or any clear haram? Is that so? With this, we're doing this thing. Tell me to pray to pray to idols, or will it help me to memorize the Quran? So, if for example, I tell you to worship your idols, if the answer is so, you have to be very sure that look at it. Will this thing contradict Tawheed? If it contradicts the Tawheed, the Aqidah, if the answer is yes, then you have to reject it. If you ask another question, does this normalize zina, riba, lying, zulmun, all the good they are khalaq? If it normalize those things that are forbidden, if the answer is yes, if it normalizes it, then we have to reject it. So, if for example there is an app and you ask, if I install this app, will it lure me into zina, or lure me into lying, or into zulm? If the answer is yes, then you have to leave it. For example, a dating app. When you install a dating app on your phone, what will be the consequence? What will be the result? It will make you to it will encourage zina, because you'll be seeing a lot of things. You'll be chatting with those people that you are not supposed to chat with. So it will lead to zina at the end of the day. So you have to reject it. So that is why you have to ask, does this normalize those things that are forbidden? So that is the second question. And the third question is that will this force me to erase my name, my language, my value when I use it? If it will make you to erase your name, your language, then you have to reject it. That is, for example, if you are to go to a school and the school will erase your identity as Muslim, you don't use hijab, there is no mosque to pray, then you don't go to such a school. You find another one that will not erase your identity. So now, if another question is, which is the fourth one, is that will this make us dependent on non-Muslims for something critical? If the answer is yes, that it will make you to be dependent, then you have to leave it. Like for example, in a country, if some people are advising them that you have to import this, you import your clothes, import your cream, import your maize, import your food, everything. At the end of the day, the country will become what? Will be dependent on those countries that are supplying all those things. So when they don't supply, then there will be problem. So ask that before you do anything, ask that question: will it make me dependent on non-Muslims for something critical? So these are the independence filter. Now the fifth one, which is under the fifth question, which is under the openness filter, is: does this bring clear benefits in deen, in my religion, or in my word? If there is no clear benefit, then you have to drop it. For example, when you talk about telemedicine, you ask that, does it have any benefit? If you are there is benefit, that it saves lives, then you have to adopt it. But if you are there is no benefit with it, then you have to leave it. So then you have to ask again another question, that can we adapt this and make it better? That is, if you take it, can you make it better? If you can make it better, then yes. If the answer is yes, then you are free. You can take it. But if the answer is no, you have to leave it. So, for example, using Zoom, maybe you can turn Zoom to, you add Adhan to Zoom, you add prayer reminder to Zoom, so it becomes Muslim Zoom. Then you can adopt it. So, for example, with the Instagram, you can make the Instagram by filling it with Islamic content. Then it becomes permissible. So you have to look at it that, can we adapt this to and make it better? So when others are filling it with something that is immoral, you fill it with something that is moral based on Islamic ethics. And the last question we have to ask is that, can we use this to reach people and show Islam? If you can use it to reach people, then it becomes permissible. Like today that people use their own TikTok to do a lot of rubbish. You have some imams, they use that 30 seconds or 60 seconds. They use it to preach, and the preaching will be meaningful, just 60 seconds. They use it to do tafsir, and it will be meaningful, just 60 seconds. So that is the 7 question filters. So that is the questions. We have 5 in independence filter, and we have 2 in the what is it called, openness filter. So we have to ask all the questions and make sure that the answer is in line with Islamic principles. So then we can be talking about adopting those things. So we as Muslims, we have to be like a bee. You know a bee? When we will be like a bee, a bee flies to everywhere. It flies to every flower. So when you fly to, then they fly to every flower, every flower. That is openness. But it only makes what? Honey. It makes honey from all the flowers. So that is how we learn, we do this, but however we have to bring out something from what we have learned. From other civilizations, or from the knowledge you have learned. Let us build something as Muslims for us to become independent. So the bee doesn't become flower by flying to all the flowers. It takes the flower and make it to produce what? To produce honey. So learning a particular civilization, a particular language should not turn you to another thing. So it should only refine you, redefine you, remodel you, and you become a better person, a better version of yourself. So finally, the independence filter and openness filter, they are very important. In the independence filter, when the answer is yes, then you don't do it. When it says, does it break Allah's rules? If it is yes, you move away from it. Does it teach lying, bullying, bad habits? You move away from it. Does it make me ashamed to be a Muslim? You move away from it. Does it make me to be dependent on others? You move away from it. If the answers are yes, or one of the answers are yes, you have to move away from that thing. And on the openness filter, when you realize that you ask yourself, does it help me and my family or people? If the answer is yes, you go for it. If the answer is no, you leave it. Can we make it better and Islamic? If the answer is yes, you take it. If it is no, you leave it. Can I use it to show how cool Islam is? If the answer is yes, you take it. If it is no, you leave it. So if one of the answers is yes, while others are no, you still have to leave it. Everything must be parallel. So that is why it is very important as Muslims to filter anything we want to do. So this is where we are going to stop on balancing our constant and variable. So in the next episode, we shall be taking confusing independence and variables. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.